backer board is down, and it is red guarded. A couple of coats. Hasn't quite dried yet. You know when it's dry when it's red, and there's splotches of pink going on. So I'm going to wait a couple of hours, let this dry up very thoroughly before I start doing my tiling process, because it's begun, finally. A lot of prep involved in here. As I've said many times already, prep is the most important part of a shower build. In this case, a wet room build, and it is, as I said before, impervious to any type of water whatsoever. A couple of quick notes about Red Guard, or any liquid topical membrane, but specifically Red Guard in this case. One is, it's very toxic. I have seen other videos of people applying Red Guard without a mask, and a paper mask is not appropriate. This is an older mask that I have had for a very long time, and it has filters on it. It's I think it was $35 or $40 or something like that when I bought it brand new years and years ago. You cannot smell anything out of this mask at all. So I use this specifically when I have a lot of dust going on, and I know there's asbestos involved in it, then I'll use this. And I use it when I apply Red Guard. Almost every bathroom that I run into has no functional window. This definitely has no window at all, let alone a functional window. If you had a functional window, you would put a fan on facing the outside, inside of the window, to expedite all the fumes getting out. There is a fan up here, and so I have turned that on as well as this one here. But this is not something that you want to breathe, especially this much of it. And that's important to know. Also, another thing in regard to a wet room, specifically a curbless shower, which I'm getting ready to do here. There should be an external drain. Even when I've seen wet rooms before, I've seen the external drain somewhere around the toilet area. And this is no exception to the rule. There should be an external drain, although there's not one here, and very few people want to go to the added expense to put in an external drain, just so you know. Otherwise, this is ready to start tiling. And for those of you that are curious, before I get into the tiling mode, I have a Schluter strip my customer had wanted me to put down here because we were trying to figure out how to overcome usually when I do a curbless shower, I'm not relegated to one end, and in this case I am. When I say one end, I mean all the tile is going to go this direction down, and so I have this little lip that is increasingly larger because there's a slope, and it's almost nothing up here, probably about ½ inch, and then it increasingly gets to about 1.25 inches or so. So that was intentional. I would prefer, if I'm going to do a curbless shower, that I have a lineal drain on the back here so that all my tile slopes off of where the drop would be, as it were. Even if it wasn't a lineal drain, if it was a square drain or even a circular drain, I would still like to have it somewhere in the center here or offset down here. This is different, and because it's different, we're coming in with a different way to transition from the floor tile to the shower floor tile. So eventually there will be tile that goes almost all the way to the top of that transition strip, and then increasingly it will, I guess there'll be about this much room here with the tile up against here, and the transition strip will show on the inside of there. It's going to be a shower door offset probably about 3 inches or so from the transition strip. So that's how it's going to look, and I'm going to get started doing this floor tile first. I have not set any of these tile. This is a dry run. Anytime you're doing tile that, how could I put it, is different, that is specific, that things have to be right, you do a dry run first, so all the cuts are done. These are full tile up front. The two closest to the edge are full tile, and then I believe that's a 10-inch cut. So it's not really bad, but that's kind of the way they wanted it, with full tile, and then on the outside where the shower is, full tile as well. And then down at the end here, I think these are 3.5-inch cut times, I think we shrink down to 9 over here. 3.5 that wraps around the front. I don't know that that one full piece will end up being there, because I still need to be able to slope my tile inward, so I may end up having to cut right there. And then this is a 16-inch instead of a full piece, so I have full, and 16. And then there'll be a transition, like a marble transition strip up here in the front. On the inside, this isn't set yet. On the inside of here is where that that discrepancy is. So the tile overhangs, along with the Schluter strip, overhangs by about 3/4 of an inch or so, in order to facilitate a strip of tile that will end up going in here. This is a preliminary cut. This measurement will change once I start putting thin set under it. But the idea is taking up that gap, which will exist all 3 tile. That one will be a little easier to cut. This one will be more difficult, because it starts out about 1/4 of an inch and works its way down to almost nothing. And of course that will change also. In fact, I think I'm going to probably top out by the time I put thin set down here at the bottom. Then I'll top out at the bottom here. So this may not need the strip, but those 2 areas will, and that will kind of end things off. So when everything is said and done, it looks nice. It'll look really nice. It is the next day. The tile have been set and they have been grouted. I think about 2 hours ago is when I grouted this finally. So it worked out pretty good. I got this slope, the pitch that I need going down to the drain, and then on the back end I have the tile pitched down that direction. And all my tile are flat on the floor and level. Flat on the floor. And I have a good pitch going down to my drain. And that's what I'm looking for. Now I can start on my floor tile proper. Get that going with the transition strip I was talking about before. There'll be a slight overlap so that I can put a piece inside of there. So I set most of the floor tile last night. There's 2.5 more rows to go. Actually 2 and about 2/3. So it's working out pretty good. There's a big buildup going on because this floor is cockeyed in that direction really badly. So to make up for that, I had to build up the thin set a lot more than I normally like to do. But all my tile is flat and level, and that's what matters. This is the finished product on the inside. I get my camera on the inside here of what I did yesterday, setting this little tile inside of there to take up the difference where this drops down. So that turned out pretty good. It's actually exactly the way that I envisioned it. It's just sometimes you don't really know if it's going to turn out as good as you envision it. So everything is taking shape and starting to set the wall tile. I've got my ledger board up, and what I did is the lowest point possible, which is right here, is where I set my first ledger board. So I'm up 11 and a half. My tile is 11 3/4, so 11 and a half is my marker. Everything else that thins out, I think this is probably about 8 inches over here, is what it is. I think this is about 8 also, might be 9. Anyway, that will facilitate all of my tile, my first row of tile going around. This is going to be a white wavy tile on the back, and that row will be set first, and then a white flat tile will go on this side and on this side. And I'll probably go a couple rows up right before I get to the niche on both left and right, and then my back wall I'll probably just run all the way up to the ceiling for day 1 of the tiling, and then day 2 I'll start focusing on all these other walls. Just a lot of tiling, and then I'll frame out my niche with my bullnose, and that'll be it for the day.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, then subscribe. Hit that button and subscribe. I make nothing off of YouTube, so please be a Patreon member. I'm going to post a link down below to my Patreon account, and you can donate $1, $5, $10, $20 a month. Just pledge that on a monthly basis. That will help me produce more videos and content so that you can watch and learn from my channel. And donate at least $50 if you're going to call. If you're going to call for advice, donate to my PayPal, please. Donate first, and then feel free to call me or email me for advice. Otherwise, business calls only, please.